fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. I said, in this parade, please wave your grades to the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. You make this parade a mere charade if you're marching just for fun. Our troops must feel your thanks for real before the marching is done. They know side by side you can match their stride to the drum beat and the brass, but they're not impressed with you unless you can match their stride in class. This may not sound too diplomatic, but I cannot be more emphatic as I tell you, it's problematic when you do less than your best. Especially when it's because you put your brilliance on pause for the mere peer applause it draws from a so-called friend doing less. Quit playing, I'm saying, you know that you are great, and we know it, so show it. Don't make our heroes wait. In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you.
Good afternoon and welcome to your Christmas edition of Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org, the academic patriotism program that is dedicated to veterans and serious secondary scholars. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now here is our host, civilian urban educator, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very, very much. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to those who are joining us on this Saturday, December 23rd, already 2023. This is Wave Your Grades, and this program is indeed dedicated to veterans and, as a matter of fact, active duty military persons, and for our young people as well. Today, we are going to have a very special guest. As a matter of fact, by the way, our young people not being with us, experiencing the holiday from school, Louis George Walker and DeQuay Wilson, and our very special guest, Michelle Seaby, just came from an activity at our church, Friendship Baptist Church, with High Aspirations, a program for young men headed by Henry Wash. And that program celebrated at our church this morning and now afternoon lets us know how important our young people are.
Hello, thank you for having me on this afternoon. My name is Michelle Seaby. I am the Reese Across America location coordinator for Leavenworth National Cemetery. And my support with the military comes from my grandfather who fought in World War I. Through that, I've been eligible to join the American Legion Auxiliary Post 370 in Overland Park. I'm a lifetime member of the VFW Auxiliary Post 56 in Leavenworth and a lifetime member of the AUSA Henry Leavenworth chapter out of Leavenworth, Kansas.
Missouri, based upon my brother's service in Korea, 1952 to 1955, and Michelle Seaby on this day, a particular thank you for something, indeed, someone else we have in common. This program has been privileged and honored to have as a guest more than once Debbie Austin. Debbie Austin is a Gold Star mom. She is very dedicated to honoring not only her son, but all of those who have served. And Michelle Seaby, at what time did she call you and you said yes to be on this day?
She called me at 5 o'clock yesterday evening and asked if I would come on your program today to talk about Reach Across America.
Well, let me tell you how indebted I feel towards Debbie Austin, and certainly towards you to respond to the call as you have, and having this opportunity at this point to engage. Would love to hear a little more about you personally before we get into an explanation of wreaths across America. Just a little bit more. I'll give you an example. My name is Carl Boyd, and I graduated from Lindblom High School in Chicago, Illinois, and moved to Kansas City in 1980, etc., etc. Let us hear
Okay.
now from Michelle Seaby.
My name, as we said, is Michelle Seaby. I graduated from Westover High School in Albany, Georgia. I was actually born in St. Louis, Missouri, and I joke that I am not an army brat, I'm a beer brat because my
Uh-oh.
dad was a brewmaster. And so, depending on what brewery he worked for, we moved around the United States. And so, my junior year in high school, we moved down to Georgia, and that's where I graduated from. And then went to college down there and graduated, and then moved back up north. I've been in Kansas City now, a suburb of Kansas City, for 20 years. I work for a technology company, and I first volunteered or first heard about Reach Across America in 2016 and went out to Leavenworth National for the first time in 2018 and then became coordinator or in 2017 and then became coordinator in 2018.
Well, let me say to you that not only am I indebted to you for appearing as a guest on this particular day, let me also say to you that my wife's maiden name is Clark. She is Wanda Boyd. Her maiden name is Clark. She is the daughter of Lee Clark, whose remains are in Leavenworth, and he had those wreaths pass his way, and this year the recipient of one of the wreaths across America. Can you tell us more about what that is all about?
Absolutely. So, Reach Across America is a nonprofit organization whose goal is to have a veterans wreath placed on every headstone in every cemetery across the United States at sea and abroad. It started in 1992 with a wreath maker from Maine who had 5,000 wreaths left over.
Wow.
And as a young boy, had been out to Arlington and knew that he wanted to do something for our veterans. And so he got permission to lay those in Arlington. And it's something that he did very quietly every year, and he increased the numbers every year until 2007, when an Air Force photographer on his way to the Pentagon cut through the cemetery, saw all the wreaths, took a photo, shared it on social media, and it went viral. And people started sending money in, and that started the non-for-profit. This past year, which just last weekend, we laid over 3 million wreaths.
Wow.
In over 4,200 cemeteries across the United States, including the American cemeteries in Luxembourg and Normandy. So they're not Christmas wreaths, they're veterans wreath.
Okay,
Each
very
bouquet,
good.
Yes, each bouquet represents, there's 10 bouquets on these wreaths, and each bouquet represents a different aspect of a veteran's life. And if you go out to YouTube and search for what is a veteran's wreath, the founder's grandson actually does our new narration, and you watch the founder, Morrill Wooster, actually build one of these wreaths. And all of these wreaths are made by hand. So if you think about it, 3 million wreaths were laid this last weekend, and they were all built by hand, all made by hand.
Wow. Now, among the places where that is done, each is made in the locale, or are they sent from some particular place?
They are all harvested from what they call the tipland up in Columbia Falls, Maine. That's owned by the Wooster family, and they are all made there. Trucking companies donate their trucks and their drivers, and they transport these across the United States to all the cemeteries. So it's a huge undertaking,
Yes.
and it's all done by volunteers. The trucking companies are all volunteers. The location coordinators are all volunteers. I joke that it's my second full-time job.
I could imagine, my goodness. And when you talk about the trucking companies, do you also have shipping or flight companies to go beyond
These are
the
all
United
driven.
States?
Yes,
Oh, really?
yes. They're driven within the United States, but yes, they're flown over to Normandy and to Luxembourg for the
Yes.
American cemeteries over there. Yes.
Now, when you
And
say that each bouquet represents an aspect of a veteran's life, how does that determination get made?
So I'll kind of quickly go through these. The first bouquet is their faith in God. The second bouquet is their love for each other. The third is their strength, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to, their work ethic and character. The fourth is their honesty and integrity. The fifth is the humility, selflessness, and modesty.
Wow.
Sixth is their ambition and aspirations. 7 is their optimism of America. 8 is their concern for the future. 9, their pride in others. And 10, their hopes and dreams that didn't always come true, but left them with no regrets.
Now, let me suggest to you that you have hit on a theme that I will unashamedly use as I work with educators and students across America. When you said that one of the aspects of their lives includes the word optimism,
Yes.
I find myself often saying to young people that whatever you see and hear after the words breaking news, whatever experiences you might have locally, nationally, elsewhere that are negative, I am optimistic because I believe that we can help American students to determine a better future for the United States of America in honor of those who serve and those who have served. And when we look at those characteristics you pointed out, we could do a show on any one of them, but let me suggest to you that thinking in terms of optimism is not always easy to do in the times in which we live. How do you find the wherewithal to speak of optimism again in the times we live?
For me, it goes along with our motto, which is remember, honor, teach. It's remember the fallen, honor those serving in their family, and teach the future generations the cost of freedom. And this last weekend, my optimism comes from the span of age groups that we had in our 1,300 volunteers that came out on Saturday to place wreaths in Leavenworth National Cemetery.
Wow.
One of my favorite photos that I've seen that was shared on Facebook were two young girls that had their arms wrapped around each other as they watched the presentation of the colors during the ceremony prior to laying wreaths. That gives me optimism that we have those future generations respecting our the sacrifices that have given them the lives that they have today. So
Well,
seeing those young kids is my optimism.
that is outstanding. And let me say something before my next question about families and their knowledge and participation. I want you to know how proud and honored I am to have as a producer, as well as a co host, as well as an engineer and an announcer, DeQuay Wilson. And she allows us on this program to have the audacity to have a program that features conversations about veterans every week. There are so many topics, there are so many people, there are so many opportunities to talk about so many things, and yet we have felt it necessary and a privilege to honor veterans and to encourage students. So here we are attempting to do this in a way that has integrity and makes sense. And you have come up this day with the words teach as well as optimism. And at this moment, I will ask DeQuay Wilson if there's anything she wants to say, and obviously she'll jump in, if not right now, during the course of the program. But
Well, I do have one question about the wreaths. I want to know what determines what stage of life wreath gets placed at a grave. Or how do you make that
Uh,
determination for each veteran?
so we have over 40,000 laid to rest at Leavenworth National, and that grows every day. When I first started in 2018, we had 36,000 laid to rest, and we're now up
wow.
to 40,000. So the wreaths are sponsored. They're tax deductible. They're $17 a piece. And because we don't get enough wreaths to fill the cemetery, I have to rotate the sections each year. And so it just depends on how many wreaths are sponsored. I am very proud to say that this past weekend we were able to lay wreaths in the final sections that have never received wreaths before.
Wow.
So it's taken 5 years, but we have managed to rotate through every section in the cemetery. So we offer grave-specific options, which you took advantage of, because that's the only way to guarantee that your loved one gets a wreath, since we don't have enough to fill the cemetery. So we had close to 500 grave-specific requests this year. That's part of the 10,000, almost 10,000 wreaths that we laid last Saturday.
Thank you.
And, oh, I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I thank you for answering my question.
I would like to find out, in as much as you mentioned, did you say 1,300 volunteers?
Yes, sir.
Do you find that family members are among those who volunteer and or participate at some level?
Absolutely. So we formed a committee in 2018 because after my first year of attending in 2017, the conversation was, if the intent is to be able to honor every member laid to rest in the cemetery, we needed to get more organized. And so my committee is made up of retired military and Gold Star families. And Debbie Austin is one of those Gold Star families. mothers, and I have others that their children are laid to rest in Leavenworth National Cemetery. So we allow the families to come in who have placed the grave-specific request at 9 a.m. to go lay their loved one's wreath, and then they attend the ceremony at 11, and then they're part of the general wreath placement at 11:30. So
Now,
we definitely ask
yes,
for the families to be involved.
that is so wonderful. Now, when I look at your title, Coordinator Leavenworth National Cemetery, I also see WAA Location Coordinator. Please tell me again the WAA.
That stands for Wreaths Across America.
That's
It's
it.
just a short abbreviation
Yes.
versus typing out Wreaths Across America each time. And my title is Volunteer Location Coordinator with the organization. They have a staff that's in Columbia Falls, Maine, that are full-time employees of Wreaths Across America, but every cemetery has a location coordinator, and we're all volunteers. So we do this on our own time and our own expense.
My goodness. And how about how you relate to other states across America and again, even beyond? Do you have national conventions? Do you have different kinds of programs? How do you relate to each other?
We actually have a Facebook group that's a location coordinator group. We have monthly webinars
Yes.
that we try and attend. So there's a different topic every month, and then once a
Oh,
year there is a program called STEM to Stone, where Gold Star families, location coordinators, general public are invited up to Columbia Falls, Maine. And it's a multiple day event where you can tour the facility. They have an amazing museum. And then on the tip land, there is a 5K. So you actually do a 5K run or walk through the tip land. And Gold Star families are able to have dog tags made, and they can take those dog tags, hang them on a tree, and that
ooh,
becomes their family tree. And
wow.
every 3 years, the only thing they have to agree to is that every 3 years, those trees are tipped to make the bouquets for the wreaths that are sent out across the United States and overseas. So it's an amazing event. I was privileged to go out in 2022, and I was able to place dog tags for all of the Gold Star families on my committee, and including my grandfather from World War I. So it's quite an undertaking.
When I think about mass media, when I think about movies, when I think about conversation and our privilege, yours and mine, to have had veterans in our families, an assumption can be made that we know exactly what you're talking about when you say dog tags. But just in case there
Uh,
are some younger people who don't understand that identification, how would you define it for someone who needs a definition?
Okay, we'll see if I get this right. So for every service man or woman who serves in any branch of the military, they are issued dog tags with their name, their blood type, their date of birth, and it's a way of identifying them if they are injured. And you may be able to help me with more purposes of the dog tags, but that was always my understanding of the purpose of the dog tags, is to
No,
help identify them.
exactly. And if someone were to ask me, I would say precisely what you said. It is a means of identification, just so that all who hear the term know that it's not a demeaning term. It is identification.
Correct.
And when families are indeed honored to have a wreath placed, is there an opportunity at some point later to have that honor again, or is it a one time? Oh, DeQuay Wilson just smiled. I must have just asked her question. I'm not sure. But we jointly will ask that question. How does that go?
So are you asking about the placement of the wreaths?
The
Um,
family honored.
oh, the
Can
family
they be
honored.
honored more than once?
So once the dog tag is hung on the tree, then they can come back and participate with the 5K in the event in that, but your dog tags is hung on the tree once.
Uh,
So the trees are full of dog tags from
oh,
family members.
absolutely. And
Yeah, as far as the wreath placement goes,
yes,
so National Wreath Day is always the third Saturday in December. And so every year, families have the opportunity to order a grave specific
yes,
request to have
good.
a wreath placed on their loved one. And then the rest of the sponsorships of wreaths go into the general section placements. So I
Let
have
me,
family members that call me because they're not computer savvy, and I get a phone call from them once a year, and I place the order for them through my laptop,
yes.
and we get to chat because some of them are up in their 80s, and so they call me, and I already know the information off the top of my head, so we just chat while I'm placing their order for them.
This is so, so very, very good. And let me remind those who are with us that our very special guest this afternoon is Michelle Seeby, Reeves Across America Location Coordinator, Leavenworth National Cemetery. And we have the opportunity to talk about wreaths across America. And KUAW, yes.
Yeah, I have a really quick question before we approach our break time. So I kind of glanced at the website while we were talking, and I saw something about sponsorships. So is that something that you can purchase and have a wreath placed every year? Is that how that works?
Yes, you sponsor a wreath every year. And if you do the grave specific, then that is guaranteed to go on your loved one's resting place. Otherwise, it goes into the general pool. But yes, we take sponsorships year round because it's a year round program. They have a matching going on right now. So for every wreath that's sponsored, the
Yes.
headquarters matches it wreath for wreath.
Well, that's good. I probably will sign up because I just recently lost my mom, and she was interred at Leavenworth National Cemetery just last weekend. So just
Okay.
glancing at, so she missed it this year, but hopefully next year. So we
Yes,
have,
and I'll make sure that I email you the step-by-step instructions on how to do that grave specific request.
absolutely, thank you.
Outstanding.
Well, we still have a few more minutes before our break, so if you have anything else, then go right ahead.
Yes, I want to go back to this term, optimism. My brother served in Korea, and Michelle, you mentioned World War One, and I was blessed to have an opportunity to perform for USO shows in Vietnam. And there was a point where, in the United States of America, those who served were not optimistic about returning home when there was such negative reaction to the Vietnam War. And of late, I think that we have been far more receptive where military veterans are concerned, those who have served and are serving. Do you find in your encounters now with the civilian population that they are not only receptive to positive things about veterans, but also even optimistic that they will get better for better veterans?
I would agree with that. Yes. One of the programs that Wreaths Across America does is they have a mobile education exhibit that they take around the country and do different events
Mm,
with. And one of the things that they do is if they have Vietnam veterans that come through the exhibit, they actually pin them and give them an official welcome home. So that's one thing that we had the exhibit out at Post 370 last year, and we officially welcomed home 30 Vietnam veterans that came through the mobile exhibit. So very
Outstanding.
much supportive of all of those men and women that are serving. Um, I know my family, besides my grandfather, I have great uncles that served in World War II. And my closest friend just retired from the Army Reserves after serving for 34 years. So it's very near and dear to my heart. I see a definite support of our military that we didn't necessarily see before, um, which I think is a testament to the hopefully the next generations continue that.
Are you able this afternoon to stay with us through the break?
Sure.
I appreciate that so very, very much. This is very enlightening and indeed encouraging. And Sister DeQuay Wilson growing more optimistic as we go right along. But I am going to turn it over to our producer, and she can time us into the break.
Well, it is time to remind our 7th through 8th grade students that you can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Sorry about that. Start over. It is time to remind our 7th through 8th grade students that you can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Yes, we say organization on purpose, with purpose. Students for Boots. Your essay title will be Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes. Your content will identify a veteran at your school. That veteran can be absolutely anyone, a teacher, custodian, coach, cafeteria worker, absolutely anyone. If your essay is chosen and submitted by an adult who gives you permission to read it on this Wave Your Grades program, you will be awarded a monetary prize. Please send your entry or inquiry to stootsforboots@gmail.com. That is STOOTSFORBOOTS @gmail.com. Stootsforboots@gmail.com. Now back to our host, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very, very much. And we're coming back now to our very special guest, Michelle Seavey. We are talking about wreaths across America, but not only that, we're talking about our appreciation for those who serve and those who have served. You mentioned, I think, a traveling exhibit. Is that correct?
That is correct. They call it their mobile education exhibit, MEE, that travels around the country, and it's basically a mobile museum. The first half of the trailer is a kind of a timeline boards that show the history of Race Across America. And then the back half of the trailer is actually a movie theater, and they show videos of Gold Star mothers that have joined the Wreaths Across America program and how they tell their stories, how they became Gold Star parents. And it's very heart-wrenching. There's a lot of Kleenex that's passed
I would
around
imagine.
during watching those videos. Especially when they talk about they thought their path was going to be grandchildren, and instead they've now on a new path with Reese Across America. So if it comes in an area, you can actually look for it on Reese Across America's website to see where it's scheduled to be. It travels around the country. I highly recommend that you take the opportunity to go through it.
Now, one of the things that might occur is there are schools who would love to have the exhibit travel to their schools. What if students come up with some ideas of what they might want to do in honor of Wreaths Across America? How might they do that? Can they participate, initiating
They,
rather than only receiving?
Absolutely. They can go out and fill out a request to have it come to their school. That's one of the things that happens as it travels around. It goes to American Legions, it goes to school systems. It's somebody just has to put a request in to have it travel to their location. And then as far as participation, we tend to do that's part of the teach portion of
Yes.
our jobs as location coordinators is to go out and talk with students. And one of the things that I had done a couple of years ago was actually get Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops to come out to Leavenworth National Cemetery prior to Wreath Day and just talk about the differences with a national cemetery. And I only picked one section because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And we walked through and said each one of their names out loud because that's
Wow.
part of Wreath Day. You remember is by speaking that veteran's name out loud. You honor by placing the wreath, and you teach by taking photos of that veteran's headstones, researching them, and sharing that on social media. Because there's a saying that a person dies twice. The first time is when they take their last breath, and the last time is when their name is spoken out loud for the final time. So, as part of Wreath Day, we speak those veterans' names out loud. We did one full section and they didn't want to stop. We just kept going to the next section. We did 4 full sections of speaking their names out loud because the kids were so encouraged by what they were doing and understanding what they were doing. So it's not necessarily about laying a wreath, it's about speaking that veteran's name out loud so that they're never
Wow.
forgotten.
Absolutely. I was watching a program earlier, and they were asking trivia questions. And one of the things that I enjoyed, and my wife and I did not compete with each other, we just had our answers to the question, your favorite blank. So when they said favorite movie, my wife knew that I was going to say It's a Wonderful Life with, with James Stewart. What is your favorite Christmas song? I said The Christmas Song by Nat King Cole, and on and on. But as we think back, you not as far back as I, but as we think back about some of what is referred to as entertainment, we used to call them, when I was growing up as a child, war movies.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about how military personnel, active duty, and of course veterans are depicted in mass media, and since media are more mass than ever, do you find that there are certain segments, certain programs, certain personalities that you might recommend if we want to get a sober and appropriate image of our veterans in the United States of America? So I'll put DeQuay Wilson and Michelle Seavey on the spot. Is
Oh,
there
wow.
anything that media are proud of? What might it be? Do we
As
do?
far as a movie that has been made that we think depicts
And it's
correctly, or
not necessarily a movie. I mentioned that because what they were doing was favorite song, favorite movie, favorite
oh, okay.
personality. But it might be what I'm getting at is, how do we do in America on a serious basis depicting those who are true heroes?
I
Oh
think
boy.
we do it every
Uh,
Saturday.
Ah, I'm sorry, DeQuay, say that again.
I think we do it every Saturday.
That is so very kind, and that is certainly our intent and our reach. But
I
Michelle, I think that if we just determined that the word critic applied to us, and there was a special, there was a documentary, there was a movement, there was an entertainment program, there was something that when I get home, I want to make sure that my wife Wanda sees.
Hmm.
What might you recommend or look for?
So I was introduced to Armed Forces Bank has a podcast called Militarily Speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was interviewed by them last year, right before Wreath Day. And I had never heard of them before, and I went back and started listening to their podcasts.
Yes.
And I was impressed with their podcasts. The other thing that people don't know is that Reach Across America actually has a radio station, and they're on iHeartRadio and where you listen to your podcasts or your streaming of music. And they call themselves the radio station for veterans. They have veterans centric programs to help active duty, to help retired, to help disabled. I've had the honor of being a guest DJ just
Ah.
last just last earlier this month as they were doing the escort to Arlington of all the wreaths from Columbia Falls, Maine to Arlington. They had different location coordinators be a guest DJ for an hour time frame. So that's they play uplifting music. They're very supportive of a military and our veterans. So I have to say those two programs, and I will have to say until Debbie introduced me to you, I was not aware of your program. So this is something that I can add to my list to follow now.
Well,
But yeah, those would be the ones that I would recommend.
that is so encouraging. I appreciate it, and then that gives us another source to draw from because we want young people to be aware. We don't want to say that they honor veterans just as a matter of speech. We want to talk about what is really going on. And by the way, I will mention this while you're on as our guest, but that is not a requirement for this statement. The program, Wave Your Grades, which is our program, is sponsored by our not for profit Stutes for Boots. And Stutes is short for students, and Boots for troops. So it is Students for Troops. The acronym STOOTS, Stutes, stands for Students Theater of Operations, the school, so that we are encouraging our young people to indeed strive for excellence in honor of our troops. And when we get the opportunity to recommend that something is forthcoming that they need to be exposed to, we will certainly be happy to do that. And we invite you to keep us apprised. And don't be surprised when we call upon you to join us again. We appreciate that so very, very much. And as we talk about wreaths across America, certainly I'm going to take advantage of whatever opportunities we have because my wife's father, my father-in-law, has indeed enjoyed on this occasion this year the placing of the wreath, and our producer, engineer, announcer, co-host DeQuay Wilson has talked about next year. So we will certainly be discussing this. But it may very well be that Michelle Seaby has something important that you might want to say that is not explicitly wreaths across America, but you might want our listeners to hear something important to you or something that you don't want to get away without telling us.
I think for me is the the support of our active duty military. One of the things that I was touched with that our auxiliary for the American Legion did this year was adopting 100 children of serving
Ooh.
military from Fort Leavenworth this year for Christmas. And what struck me was they were allowed to ask for one want and one need. And you think about the things that we don't necessarily think about in our day-to-day world that they may be struggling with because of the lack of income, as I look at it, that our military falls under today. And, they're very proud. They don't like to ask for help. But the simple thank you when you see a veteran goes a long way. But I think anything that young students could do to potentially get involved with the different organizations up on post, when they have food drives, they just did Christmas baskets for the military family. AUSA, the Henry Leavenworth chapter of AUSA, is their main focus is our active duty military, and getting involved with them on finding ways to help our currently serving, and then potentially looking at getting involved with junior ROTC, and seeing if that's a path that you want to go to. You can get great scholarships for college if you're looking at joining the junior ROTC. So just different programs that way to support our military and our active duty that are serving.
This is so very important because as we talk about wreaths across America, as we talk about Gold Star moms, it is very important that Debbie Austin, Michelle Seaby, others whom you would recommend to be guests on such programs, help us to understand that that is in no way to the neglect of active duty who
Absolutely.
are currently involved, so that as it relates to recognition, you are not waiting for that moment when something happens that causes you to place a wreath, but you are also helping us to understand how important it is to honor those who are currently serving, who are currently involved. So that's very important, and I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yes, yes. I think about, I have 16 family members laid to rest at Jefferson Barracks in St. Louis. And so I coordinate with my family to take care of those, loved ones every wreath day. But with being involved in Leavenworth and AUSA, and we made the decision to go all active duty military in our ceremony for Wreaths Across America on Wreath Day.
Wow.
And
excellent.
We're privileged to pull those active duty members that can represent every branch of the military, present their own wreath on Wreath Day from the fort. And then who knew we have a Coast Guard station in Topeka. You wouldn't think of a Coast Guard station in Topeka, but that's where their admin and their claims are processed. So just getting them involved in something, it was just as moving for them, I think, participating as it was for the civilians there on Wreath Day. But that's, like we said, the honor part of Remember, Honor, Teach is honor those serving and their families.
Wow.
And just making sure that we lift them up as much as possible, because the families sacrifice as much as the soldiers or the servicemen and women do. They go for long periods without seeing their loved ones. So anything we can do to help them.
This is so very wonderful. As a matter of fact, this Stutes for Boots effort started in 2014, but one of the reasons that I was encouraged to do it was because as an educator, I work with educators. And I was invited to Fort Hood. And when I went to the large military base, one of the things I said to the young people is you cannot allow your parents, in this case talking about the parents of the students in Fort Hood, to be deployed without doing your best in school.
Yes.
And when others asked me to come back and talk about it some more, I began to understand how important active duty personnel are just in what they do, but also their need to know, especially their children who are in school, but all of us who are at home, how important what we do here is to what they do there. And I often say that those who are deployed should always come home to a better America than when they left. And
Yes.
our children have a lot to do with that.
Yes, a couple of years ago. So Reese Across America does a different theme every year. This year was Serve to Succeed. And a couple of years ago, it was Be an American Worth Fighting For.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that, to me, was extremely powerful.
Yes.
And one year in 2021, it was Find a Way to Serve. And we did that in 2020 when COVID hit. It was very unclear whether there was going to be a wreath day because of everything being shut down and whether we were going to be, what cemeteries were going to participate. And we made the decision we were going to participate no matter what, even if it was just the committee members going to lay the wreaths.
Wow.
And we're blessed to have a mentor, Norma Donlin, who's a national ambassador for Reese Across America, lives in Leavenworth, Kansas, and her husband is Medal of Honor recipient Roger Donlin. He was the first Medal of Honor recipient from Vietnam. And she asked that we make sure that we place a wreath on every Medal of Honor recipient in our Leavenworth area. And while we were researching that, one of my VFW writers found a Medal of Honor recipient laid to rest in Potter's Field in Mount Calvary Cemetery in Leavenworth. He was laid to rest in 1884. His headstone was mold covered and falling apart, and it took us 6 months, but we were able to successfully relocate him to Leavenworth National Cemetery, and he was buried with honors in June of 2021.
My goodness.
And so to me, it's past, present, and future. You've got to take care of all of them.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're doing something to support our military.
Well, that is certainly appreciated here. I would like to find out from our producer, DeQuay Wilson, in as much as we're coming close to the end of the hour, if you will guide us as you might, or whatever comments you have, because unfortunately, I only have about one more question. I'd like to do this a couple more hours, but if there is something, DeQuay, let us know.
No, I'm sorry. I at this time, I really don't have anything else to add.
Oh, my goodness. I'm glad that you, being eminently more intelligent than I, went to the website right away to talk about what was going on. I appreciate that, because that will be a fixture on my computer from now on. And here again, for our very special guest, to just Michelle Seabee, to have responded to the call as you did, in the way that you have. Thank you is inadequate. Just great appreciation. And please do not be surprised should we call upon you again.
Oh, it is my honor. I'm happy to support, and I will get you, like I said, I'll get you the direct link to the Leavenworth National Cemetery page for Wreaths Across America and how to order those grave-specific requests for your loved ones.
Absolutely, and those whom we encourage to do the same. So thank you so very, very much. And thanks again to Debbie Austin for putting us together for this opportunity, and there shall be more. God bless you.
Thank you. Same to you. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas to you.
As a matter of fact, we will get close to the conclusion of the program with that as our greeting. I'll tell you how in just a moment, but a very profound thank you to our very special guest, Michelle Seeby, and I will turn it over now to our producer, DeQuay Wilson.
Now, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our listeners and our very special guests for joining us on your Stutes for Boots Wave Your Grades program. We come to you live every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center right here in Kansas City, Missouri. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now, our host, Carl Boyd, will close, and he has ample time to do so today.
Yes, indeed.
With his daily message for students in honor of veterans from his book, Morning Messages.
And thank you so very much, DeQuay Wilson. Again, thanks to Michelle Seeby. And one of the reasons I wanted to make sure there was adequate time is because I want those who are with us to know that beginning in that first Saturday in January, therefore we have a couple of Saturdays before the first Saturday in January, we will be kicking off a rather assertive, a rather aggressive campaign with our Wave Your Grades program and what we will be doing with Stutes for Boots. So I am asking, I am pleading with those who are listening and watching to keep up with us if you can. I'm that optimistic because I think that we're going to make a statement in the United States of America that we cannot allow those who serve to come home to an America that is less than when they left, but it should be better. Also, as it relates to Merry Christmas, DeQuay,
Yes, sir.
I wrote a song, and the title of the song is Call It Christmas. And the idea behind that is to suggest that those of us who are Christians should not have a reluctance to say Merry Christmas. That does not mean that we don't accept Happy Holidays. But the idea of the song was to say that Jesus is the reason for the season. Now, having said that and holding to that forever, my wife and I attend Friendship Baptist Church, a congregation of Jesus Christ. I have also had the honor, I've had the privilege to address multi-faith audiences. So once again, as I have been honored to do before, I want to offer as Carl's commentary the multi-faith poem, which simply suggests that for me, for us, you are included in our Merry Christmas. Don't ever want to neglect in the United States of America the opportunity for one to choose your faith. And you know what? December 23rd, 2023, if there were ever a time when it is absolutely imperative that we look around and respect people who might be different than we, because there is much turmoil across not just the United States of America, but across this world. And when asked about the different demonstrations on college campuses, on in the streets, around, my answer is the new title for my poem, Love Required. Love Required. That is a line in it. That will be Carl's commentary before my morning message. But The poem goes like this, and KUAW, you have heard me say that I wrote the poem when my wife and I were on our way to prison
Yes.
to visit,
Yes, sir.
but we knew there would be inmates from different faiths, so I'll use as my Christmas commentary, Love Required, which again goes like this. When I came shouting, praise the Lord, Buddha cried, please do. Allah smiled and Moses said, we praise in our ways too. Assalamu alaikum, peace, shalom, nam myoho renge kyo. You love one God or witness to? I believe in the holy trio. You're not required to believe as I, but I am required to love you. Your faith is different, I know not why, but God knows I'm not above you. Our natives honor Mother Earth, the land, the sky, the water. We all are one, the great tribes say, and so says God the Father. What teach we now, the child, unborn, innocent, till taught different? That other faiths are ours to scorn? Are we now God's equivalent? Or do we teach in word and deed based on the faiths we chose, that all are children of one seed, whatever cloth their clothes? So when I come shouting, praise the Lord, and Buddha cries, please do, the world is then on one accord when I show my love for you. And now, to students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, December 23rd. Be an American student who feels good about being an American student, because you make American troops proud that they are protecting good American students. Thank you very much for being with us. Gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.